Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the biggest Blitzwing fanboy of them all. Do not panic. This is just a random review.
It's videos like this that put the random in random review. Today, I am covering Age of Extinction Grimlock Leader Class toy. Not a relevant figure, nor one that was particularly popular when released, but this is by special Patreon request. And on top of that, to make it even easier for me to do and to have no excuses, the gentleman was nice enough to send me the toy. So thank you very much for doing so. That makes it so much easier for me to track down. So let us discuss, because I was always curious about this figure, but I always avoided it. I had the Voyager, and something about long T-Rex put me off. I think that's the first thing anyone really noticed and really remembers about the toy is the fact that it's just long. Long man of a dinosaur. This was so weird. But you know what? Like in person, I don't think it's quite as bad as photos and probably this video leads you to believe. I will say, because his torso is so long, he's got so much bulk accumulated in it, it is very front heavy. So it actually takes away some of the posability. See, I adjust the legs a little bit and it already topples over. So that's something to watch out for. Like there's ratchets in here, but they can't really do much against it's just too front heavy. So now I have to adjust everything again and back up. See, now he's staring upward. So it's a little bit awkward weight-wise, but otherwise in person it doesn't look bad. So speaking of looks, we are dealing with some very dark gray plastic as well as a lot of bronze, and then of course a bunch of chrome across the neck and the head of this beast. So it was an interesting time because the Age of Extinction Dinobots, they were the only things on the retail shelves that were distinctly not screen accurate. In the movie, they are giant behemoths of gray shrapnel, and in the toy aisle, they look like a Super Sentai team. I wish I could take credit for that observation. I heard it from Vangelis first. I don't know where he got it from. I assume he ripped it off from somewhere. So, it's interesting that all the different colors maintained through all the different lines of these, and I'm actually happy they went that route because it does mean they get to be unique, and even when they reissue things, like it gives them like repaint options. It's cool. This is actually fine. I didn't mind the bronze on Grimlock. On movie Grimlock, I thought it looked really good. I thought it helped with the ancient motif that they went for. And yeah, and it's just, a nice bit of color. It's a color I don't really see on a Transformer often. So that I went with as well. For playability in this mode, you do have what will become the robot mode arms, so they do have a lot of posability and such if, it actually comes off its tabs. But yeah, you've got hips that rotate, you got knees that bend, you've got ankles that tilt, you've got a lot of functionality there. You got the jaw that opens and closes. A very well detailed jaw at that. I like the ice blue in the eye too. That pops really well. Tiny little arms that are on rivets, and I really wish these had just been ball sockets so we could have had just a little bit more range of posability. But you know what? I'll take what I can get. Now, it's still not bad though. Still not bad. Still works for what it is, and what are you going to do with those tiny little T-Rex arms anyway? Word of advisory on this one: the tail is not the most secure thing. This thing has fallen off on me many times. It's plugged in vertically. Like the plug here goes upward, which means gravity weighs on this thing a little bit, and it is prone to falling out. As long as I'm on the underside, let's actually point out the detail I like, which is the exposed ribs, which I think is a nice little touch. Gives me a nice Beast Wars Dinobot throwback. Yeah, you can see nice bit of detail, nice bit of look there. All right, so T-Rex mode's fine. I think we get to the robot mode where there's far more, far fewer people going, wait, why? Because he actually looks pretty good in that mode, I think, all the way around. So we're going to start by removing the tail and then pausing, as I've completely forgotten how to transform the toy. But don't worry, don't worry. It's not going to be terribly hard. So putting the beast mode leg and putting the little arms of him that way, so they can kind of hide in, because we're going to be like folding a lot of this. Yep. Did I mention he has a shield component that falls off too? Okay, embarrassing gaffes aside, that plugged in here. So that out of the way, I'm going to attempt to separate this. All right. Now we start to see where the transformation lies. With separate this out, unpeg that. Now that is going to free up this whole spinal section that's going to form, I guess, the spine. Now that I think of it. And then we're going to rotate all this down and fold it together to create the legs. After we fold out the ribs. And this is actually kind of cool for the day, because back then, the inside-out transforming, which is kind of commonplace now, wasn't so much a thing. But here, like, he kind of pioneered it a little bit. Feet have to do these, like, multiple twist arounds in order to actually get into the right position. There's a few extra hinges in there to allow it to rotate like so. If I can do this again on the other side, fold out the ribs, and apologize for that accent I put on. I don't know why I did that. All right. Then everything pegs together up there at the knee. I will probably cut and like shore up all this before we go into like the final robot review. Just make sure everything is nice and secure, but you get the idea. That is the legs, like so. Arm transformation, pretty basic. Pretty basic there. Just make sure everything is folded the correct way. And now we have to get to the torso itself. We got sections to fold down, sections to fold up. T-Rex head has to split and open up. That's going to form shoulders on him. Those there to hold that up. Now we have to, right, hang on, slide joint. Haven't seen one of those in a long time. Flipping the jaw up, that creates the shoulder pauldrons. And that's pretty much going to do it for the robot mode. I'm going to cut here, get the camera rearranged, and we will see how it turned out. Actually, we shouldn't leave out the part where these shoulder parts hinge up and retab. Then all this rotates up. And that's going to plug into the back here. Like so. That's actually an important step. We should not leave that out. Alright, there you go. Now I'm refocusing. Alright, everything seems to be as solid as I'm going to get it. I will advise there is like a slight break on this copy of the toy, so a couple things aren't holding it quite as well as they should. Don't hold that against the figure. It just happens to be my mileage varying. So let's take a look. And he is a big beefy boy. Let's see. Do I have a current counterpart? Yes. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I can do this. I can do this. Hey, it's even in the same color tone. So just to give you an idea of the size of the leader class toys we were talking about back then, yeah, he's actually pretty tall figure. Uh, yeah, and here of course we have a lot more. The gray is now exposed, the bronze is more evenly distributed, so is the chrome for that matter. And also I will admit, for a toy that's got some years on it, the chrome's holding up pretty well. Because it's a used copy, it's a little bit worn in some spots, but just on its own, I'm surprised I have not seen any cracks or flakes in it. It's actually pretty impressive. So it does give him like a knight in shining armor look in this mode, especially with that chrome torso. It is not the most show accurate, movie accurate, or design accurate, I will admit, but as a different flavor from the Voyager class toy, I think it works. Looking him over, yeah, I actually do like the proportions. He's a little bit thinner than I would like a Dinobot to be, than I'd like a Grimlock to be, but I don't mind it so much. Head design. Let's see if the camera will actually focus on the head a little bit. There we go. Nice and fierce. Again, those piercing blue eyes. It's such a good shade for glowing eyes. See? You can make glowing eyes without light piping. It's not hard. And then, nice little mohawk there. Dig it. Dig it. Yeah, it's definitely not G1, but hey, we need a different flavor once in a while. I don't mind this. Looking him over, he's relatively clean, aside from a few extra little bits on his back. I can actually fold those up, so he doesn't have anything hanging off his butt. And then, of course, the big T-Rex feet hanging off of his arms. That's about the worst that the kibble gets. Admittedly, that's because he shell forms a little bit. A lot of his Dino's bulk comes off to form the shield, as we abruptly found out, as well as his tail, which will unfold into this really weird mace that's like not solid in the middle, and we never really quite figured out what this design was going for, but both the Voyager and the leader class use it, so I guess we just gonna go with it and pretend that it works. It's Grimlock. I'm not gonna question his choice of weaponry, because he'll use it on me. Now, details I didn't get in the transformation. Little pointy toes. Somewhat amusing. Somewhat amusing. It's like a little bit Jester's feet there. Yeah, and then like soft details here. This is nice and soft, so it's not actually going to get damaged over time. Little teeth like that on here as well. Soft plastics, so they do not easily break. That's actually kind of important on those thin parts. Everything else, yeah, he is as you see. If I look at articulation, the head rotates all the way around. That's always nice. Shoulders ratcheting out that way. Mind the bits trying to fall off. Outer shoulder works as well, though it does lock into place for T-Rex mode, so that does limit it somewhat. You do have a rotation just below the bicep. Listen to that. That's a ratchet. You don't hear ratchets like that anymore. Whew. Fully working wrist as well. Nothing in the waist, but we do have... Oh. Listen to that. Listen to those ratchets. He does have outward ratchets too. They're a little bit too far spread for my taste, but you know what? They're not bad. They're not the worst I've ever seen. Thigh rotation works. Knee beyond the 90. I love a knee that goes beyond 90-degree bend. Their word of advisement, they don't peg the legs. The assembly doesn't peg in too well. And then you have a nice bit of rocking in the ankle as well. So plenty of articulation. Now, if we want to deck him out with accessories, we actually do have them available. Of course, we did see the mace, which we can go ahead and work into his hand right there. It works well enough. It's a brutal looking device, even if it is a little bit weird. And then we have the shield, and the shield is the part where you lose me a little bit, because in order to get him to actually wear the shield, we have to give him one of these arms. See, I don't like this. We have this nice painted and sculpted detail on the arms, but in order to get working elbows, we have to rotate and hide it. And now we get to see it, but he's got the bicep curler arms that are always terrible. And now there's a slot underneath the foot where that shield is going to tab in, and that's going to be the defensive side of Grimlock. It's a weird looking shield. It's the kind of shield accessory I absolutely don't like because it just feels like here's a chunk of the beast that we couldn't figure out what to do with, so hey, it comes off and it's a shield now. But it just doesn't look like a shield no matter how you display it. It doesn't look like any weapon either. It's just an incredibly awkward piece of kibble that they didn't work in any engineering. And we're talking about a leader class price point. I feel like you have the budget to figure out how to do that. It's disappointing to me that they didn't. So that's about all I can say about Age of Extinction Grimlock. He's not a bad toy. I still probably prefer the Voyager, but for what it's doing, it's not bad. The Dino mode is not as distracting in person, and the robot mode, nice level of articulation. A few issues where some parts should hold together a little bit better, and yeah, I really wish they'd done a little bit better on the shield. But beyond that, yeah, I think I missed out. This would have been a toy I think I would have been happy with when it first came out, and I'm happy to have it now. So thank you again to a kind patron, and hopefully I will see you again for random review. And I have no idea how random it's going to be. You'll just have to wait and find out. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.